Hello, my name is Rosalind Radcliffe, and welcome to this latest session as part of DevOps Enterprise Summit. I'm very happy to be with you here again at this event this year. You may know me from before as Mainframe DevOps, but here, this time, I'm going to introduce myself as IBM Fellow and responsible for DevSecOPS within the IBM CIO organization. And I'll fill you in a little bit more about that later. Tom, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Rosalind. I'm also very excited to be here as well. I'm very excited to be presenting with you. My name is Tom Lawless. I'm a senior technical staff member in the CIO, and I work really closely with Rosalind on our software supply chain initiative.
The IBM CIO organization runs the IT, which runs IBM. It includes HR, sales, supply chain, all of the systems that you would expect to run a large business. And IBM is a very large business. If we think about IBM, we have 300 and some thousand people around the world. And all of that infrastructure is supported by our CIO office. We have approximately within the CIO office, 6,000 developers, 6,000 applications, 70,000 GitHub repositories. So we have a very large organization responsible for providing very critical applications, financially significant applications, and very important from the standpoint of personnel and running the systems for IBM. This organization has come together to bring together all of the support services across a number of different parts of IBM to centralize that capability so that we can provide services to IBM in a better way. The intention in my coming over to the CIO organization is to help ensure we become the client zero for IBM and the hybrid cloud showcase to demonstrate to our clients best practices in the industry. And as we go through this session, we're going to talk about something we've learned that we're working on that we hope will also spread to the rest of the industry to help the developer experience overall for everyone. Tom?
Thank you, Rosalind. So we are going to talk a bit about our initiative around centralizing our CI/CD execution and really trying to drive a secure software supply chain, a common software supply chain across our entire organization. As Rosalind called out, we have a very diverse set of technology that we deal with. We have everything from mainframe applications that have quite literally been running for decades to containers running on OpenShift on Linux in IBM Cloud. And as the industry changes and cybersecurity threats become much more intelligent and pervasive, we continue to work with our teams to make sure they understand the responsibility that they have in terms of the way that they build and deploy their code. Some of our applications have regulatory requirements, some of them don't, but we all need to be responsible for certain things in our pipeline. And it winds up being very time consuming and costly for an organization of our size to ensure that all of our teams are doing what they should be doing in this area, giving a distributed CI/CD system. Historically, our teams haven't had a lot of options. They could use Jenkins, they could use other open source build tools. But we're seeing that the amount of redundancy and the amount of wasted work that is done across all of those teams adds up quite quickly. So we start to look at all of the requirements that our CI/CD pipelines have to ensure a secure software supply chain, and we start to multiply that by the number of repositories, the source code repositories that we have. Even just a small reduction in the amount of hours it takes to manage each repository in this way over the course of the year for us adds up to tens of thousands of hours. So in addition, of course, late in 2021, we also are hit by the log4j vulnerability, which I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this recording were also exposed to. And while our teams handled it really pretty well, What we found, though, is we found issues in our ability to have visibility into our source code repositories, right? Our exercise here wound up being more of an investigation than a reporting exercise. And we need to get to a point where it's more of a reporting exercise.
If you think about this and you think about the scale and size of our organization and the fact that we have so many different applications, you've got to understand we don't necessarily, because all the teams work independently, the teams get to have their own CI/CD pipeline, they get to do development in their own organizations, own part of the organization. The question is, what are they running? Does Log4j affect them or not? So we have a lot of applications that we couldn't centrally understand what was the status. And so everyone, whether or not they were COBOL or they were not, they were some other language that wouldn't have Log4j, they had to say whether or not it affected them. So this is a challenge across a large organization, and it isn't necessary. There was work done that shouldn't have had to have been done if we had a better central way of having the data managed, so we could pull it together and easily see these are the applications that might be affected for Log4j, and they could then report how they were doing on the Log4j remediation.
So how do we plan to solve this problem or improve the environment for our developers? Well, we talk a lot about our software supply chain initiative, and really we want to get to a place where our developers can just really